Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the top-tier brewing stand. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
It's time for the beer radio you've been looking for. This is the show that dispels myths, tackles the toughest topics, and makes no apologies for geeking out on beer. Hosted by two guys that drink before they think. Jamil Zainashev and John Palmer. This is Brew Strong.
Hey, howdy, hey, my brewing brothers and sisters.
Greetings.
Alrighty, back for another fine episode of Brew Strong.
Lots of good questions to cover tonight, I assume?
I assume. Hey, you know, I went to Dixie Cup out in Houston.
Now
I know you went and you were a guest out
at
yeah. And did you have an absolutely fantastic time?
I had a great time. Yeah. It was great. It was absolutely great.
The funny thing, I always wanted to go to Dixie Cup. Back when I first started homebrewing, I read about it in like Zymergy and things like that, and I was always just really enamored of the idea of going out to Dixie Cup and checking it out, and this year it actually worked out, and I just had a fantastic time. I really was just blown away by the people and the beers and the food and the events and just the whole history of the thing. It was really cool. I was very honored to play a part in this year's Dixie Cup.
Yeah, it's a great crowd.
Now one thing, when you went out there, did they feed you a lot of smoked meats?
Yeah, but also some great Mexican food too.
Yeah, well, I want to tell you this. It was like the third day, and I've been eating like just really super smoked meats, and they had a couple of things in the potluck that were just like so. I thought it was blackened chicken, but it was like so smoked that it was black, but it was really good too. It was really moist and tender, and like the next day, I went to pee and I smelled smoked meat. I swear to God, I could smell smoke coming up from my urine. Just like, oh my God, I've consumed a lot of smoked meat.
Real Texas barbecue.
Yeah, it was great. Oh, it was fantastic. I loved every minute, and the people, like I said, were just wonderful. Justin, next year, I think the entire BN should go out.
Yeah,
for the Dixie Cup.
I'm into it, but
broadcast. From the Dixie
do it actually broadcast from it.
Yeah.
Are they flying us all out there next year?
I don't know. They might fly you out.
Yeah, I'd love to go.
Yeah.
I only get secondary, and here's what happens: they go through you and Palmer,
right?
And so I'm third rung, which I'm fine with.
Yes.
So, but maybe next year's my year because now I'm third rung.
I think they should have you be a speaker, a keynote speaker.
Wow,
at the Dixie Cup.
I would love to.
I think that's the way to get you out there, and the rest of us all kind of like travel along.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I think it would be quite nice. I think if they could cover maybe hotel.
It doesn't take much, honestly. It's not even that we look to make a profit, is it? We just
kind of defray the costs,
right?
Because it can be kind of pricey, to travel out that far. But I would love to go again. I absolutely would.
Okay.
I could see myself going every year to something like that.
Sounds like
it was really
time.
that good. It was fantastic.
It's a plan.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think it'd be really cool, and get like tasty out there.
Yeah.
I think it would be quite nice.
I guess we could all just go in my Volkswagen. What do you think?
Yeah. It's like in October. You could leave in like July.
Yeah, and we'll
probably get there.
We'll make it on
time.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
That's fine.
I think it would be very cool.
Sounds good, man.
Well, and I think one of the other cool things that I've experienced, Blickman Engineering.
Okay. I knew it was either that one or Adam and Eve.
Right. I would say Adam and Eve is more the experience, but whatever, Jay-Z.
That's one of the funniest things I think you've ever said on the show. No, Blickman Engineering, I tell you, I got to, I think Adam and Eve's a solid company. I got to choose Blickman over Adam and Eve.
Our buddy John.
If I could only have one of them in my life, it would be Blickman Engineering. Quality products, great, from great leaders come, great things. And I think John Blickman is one of those guys. And he, when we went out to Kevin's house out in Tahoe to brew with him for the contest winner. Just hanging with John Blickman is just an honor.
It was fun. We had a great time there.
He's just a cool guy, and he's just so he's as in a complimentary way. He's just so geeky about the things that he does and why. He's passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I think that passion shows in the products that they make, and the way they treat their customers and the way that they make things happen. It's very cool.
And he's always trying to think of something new. I mean,
yeah, that's what I love. I'm always interested every time I see him. It's like, John, what are you working on?
Yeah.
Tell me all the new stuff that you're doing. So just about every year there's something new. So go check it out. Blickman Engineering, Blickman with 2 N's .com, and you'll find lots of neat stuff. If you haven't checked out the website lately, go and check it out. They got all sorts of new stuff. That Tower of Power and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You had sent some stuff to Kevin to try out, and I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah, that's a nifty setup.
I'm looking forward to the Blickman griddle.
Yes,
like you could sear the Blickman brand into your steak and all that stuff. That was really cool. If you haven't seen it, there's some pictures floating out around there where they were grilling up some sausages on the Blickman top tier system. Really very cool. If you haven't ever seen it done, it was just like, why have I never thought of this? It's like, you remove the kettle and throw on the little griddle, and it was great.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally cool.
Great idea.
So check it out. Blickman Engineering, they've been sponsoring the show for a long time, making sure that we stay on the air. So I think the least they deserve is an email from you thanking them for their support and supporting you as homebrewers in this endeavor. So very cool. Check it out.
All right,
so we're going to do a live Q&A show today.
Yeah.
If you're listening live, you can go to the brewingnetwork.com. There's a chat now button. You click on that, it takes you to a thing. You don't need a password. You can use any name you want. Just type something in, and you get right into the chat, and you can ask questions live from the show, and John and I will answer, as long as it's like age appropriate or
content appropriate.
Content appropriate. Yeah.
Right.
And like that. Or, you can email in your questions to brewstrong@thebrewingnetwork.com. If it's a Q&A question, just say Q&A start your subject matter off with Q&A. Or if it's a show idea, just say show idea. And that helps us kind of sort through all the email and find the gems.
It's a lot coming through, and Jay-Z doesn't have a sexy intern going through all those emails. So if you can put something in the subject header,
right,
that'd be great.
I do kind of, rub myself as I'm reading through them.
You're your own intern.
My own sexy intern.
Right.
All right. Why don't we start off with one from the chat?
Yeah, I wanted to do that. I'm glad you said that because I think we got a very important question come through the chat right away at the beginning of the show here, Jay-Z. It's from Dead Lemming, and he says, I'm swinging by the Heretic Brewery tomorrow to pick up a case of Evil Cousin and Evil Twin.
Oh, yeah.
How much cash will I need? He wants to know.
Oh, wow. Let's see. I believe the price on a case of 12 22-ounce bombers of Cousin is $80, and for Twin it's $70, or you can get a mixed case, half, 6 of each for $75.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like the mixed case deal. Nice work on that. Good idea.
So, there you go.
All right. And it is cash only, I think I saw on the Heretic page today, right?
Right.
Okay. So go to the brewery out there in Pittsburgh, and you guys just bottled it today. So now's when you want to get the cousin. It's fresh.
Well, and I'll tell you, right, and I'll tell you this. If you're a Brewing Network Brew Strong listener,
Yeah.
you come in and you say, the password is Brew Strong,
Yeah.
we'll knock $10 off of that.
$10?
$10.
Are you sure you don't want to rethink that?
Save you $10. Brew
Wow,
Strong, Brew
that's
Strong
awesome.
listeners, don't post this on the internet for anybody.
Okay.
But if you're a Brew Strong listener and you know somebody's a Brew Strong listener, share it with them.
Yeah.
But just some schmoo who doesn't listen to the Brewing Network, then forget them.
Right.
But if you're a Brewing Network listener, you listen to Brew Strong, just the password is Brew Strong, and,
That's a good
that'll
deal.
save you $10.
I'm going to write that down so I can come say it.
Yeah.
Hang on, what is it? Brew
Yeah, you won't remember
Strong.
it. That's all right. We don't have to
You
worry
gotta
about
get the
you
whole phrase
remembering.
just now. You got to say the password is Brew Strong. Otherwise,
Oh, I see.
The phrase that pays.
Right. Very cool. Okay, so head out to
Better.
the brewery in Pittsburgh, because really you can get it at the brewery and then at kind of exclusive sites around the state of California. So
Right.
go to the brewery if you
it's
can.
going to be a while before you can get them anywhere else. So you'll get the
Okay.
very first bottles from Heretic Brewing Company.
Okay.
Just come on down and pick it up.
Good question. See, ask questions. Sometimes they result in discounts. So
Right. Well, I feel like we owe a lot to the Brewing Network. So
yeah, very cool.
I think you guys have been really supportive. So let's throw a little bit back.
Okay. All right, guys. Here's another question from one of our guests in the chat room today, and he wants to know how much can you crop a top crop? So I guess just thinking about how much of that Kreuzen can you actually peel off of there,
Well, you can really take
Go
most
all
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can crop multiple times too.
Mm-hmm.
It'll form again.
And you can just keep on taking it off.
Yeah,
the
there's-
bulk of the yeast is in the beer.
Okay.
And if you plan on top cropping, you're traditionally top cropping, you'll do the first skim and you'll throw that away, and then you'll let it come up again, and then you skim that.
Okay.
And that's
Go for the white stuff.
because all the protein and hot crud and all that brown stuff that forms on the sides of the fermenter, that's in that first part that raises up, and you actually skim that off and toss that, and then you can skim directly. If you shave that top part off, you can take what's below it.
Okay.
But sometimes you shave a little deeper, and then you wait for the second for it to kind of rise up a little bit more, and then you take that.
Good advice.
Like a day later or whatever.
Okay. All right, here's one from Secret Lab in the chat room. He says he's going to be bottling from a keg for a competition soon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the Blickman beer gun yet, he says. Yet.
No. I don't know that I can really help you.
So he was considering the tube on the end of the tap situation, the old tasty method.
Yeah.
He wants to know, should I worry about oxidation?
Yes.
And considering timing before shipping and all that.
Contamination, oxidation. I'll tell you, you run beer out of those faucets, and then you spray sanitizer in it or whatever. If you were to take a sample, and I've done this, I've taken samples from faucets that you've maintained to try to make perfectly clean. I've taken samples from them. I've sent it into White Labs, and the aerobic bacteria in there is huge.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's full of bacteria. The sample you're going to get out of there is going to have bacteria in it. So you can do it, but I would only do it if it was the last choice, last option available to you, and it was a competition that was going to judge the beer. It was going to keep it cold and was going to judge the beer right away. If it's going to be a couple of weeks and it's going to go through the mail and sit warm for a while before they chill it down, and then you're going to lose out. That's why second round of the Nationals is tough, because all that happens, and people less than perfect bottling. Get yourself a beer gun. It's super simple. I mean, you can use other counter pressure fillers. Those are fine. Mm-hmm. I've used one for a long time, but the beer gun is literally 100 times easier.
Okay. So local competition where you're hand delivering the beer, then you're saying
and they're going to judge it right
okay.
away, and they're going to keep it cold, then yeah.
Short of that, get the gun.
Right.
Okay.
If you're, if it's important to you and you think you made a great beer, then why, it's like using, dirty bottles. Mm-hmm. Make sure the bottle's spotlessly clean. Use brand new bottles. I always use brand new bottles when I enter competition.
Yeah.
Never reused a bottle. Because, I would look in there, and no matter how hard you cleaned it, scrubbed it with bottle brush, all that, there, every once in a while I'd see a little bit of schmutz in there. And it's like, no. I've gone through all this effort to make a perfect beer. Why, shortchange myself with, dirty bottles or, less than proper filling.
Okay.
So.
All right. Let's do one from the email before we have to go to break. David from Bristol, Tennessee wrote in. He says, I know that you can mash pretty thick, like, say, 1 quart per pound. Mm-hmm. But how thin can you mash and still get good results? And then I guess he wants to know if anything then has to be changed in the process, like mash time, temperature, things like that, to compensate for the mash volume.
Right. You tend to get, slightly more fermentable with the thinner mash. But it's a tiny, tiny difference.
Yeah.
Your dog
my dog is fumigating you out of here. I know, he's bad.
Makes me not want to breathe in.
Hold your breath, JC.
It's a small difference, and you can compensate with like 1 degree Fahrenheit. But you can go with like a loose mash. I think now the thinking is 3-4 liters per pound. I mean, and it's still fine.
Okay,
really not going to be a problem. You would have to be really, really super thin. Do you know what kind of the limit is, John?
I think up around 5 liters per kilogram, but professional breweries, you'll see ratios of 3 to 4 liters per kilogram, and part of that is because the way that these breweries move between the mash tun and the lauter tun, they need the fluidity. It helps them transfer the mash to the lauter tun, but they're getting good conversion. The issues you would run into with a dilute mash like that would be if you're doing a high adjunct beer, then your total diastatic power would be diluted further as well.
But that's a rarity in home brewing, I think.
Right. Yeah. So you can, I'd say you can go 4 and 5 to 1 at the homebrew level if you want, and just if you're worried about conversion, then give it some more time.
Yeah, it'll convert. I mean, I imagine you can go really, really thin and just give it a little more time, and it will fully convert.
Yeah.
You maybe give it a few stirs, you'll get it. And I guess their point was they wanted to try zero sparging and not really batch. It was just like you'd have all the water that you needed for your total kettle volume, and there you go, and you just go ahead and run it all out.
Yeah, well, the brew in the bag is like that.
Right. Although sometimes they'll rinse or they'll add more water to it. But, like brew in a bag. All right, let's take a short break, and when we come back, more of your questions after this.
When you hear Blickman Engineering, think innovation, passion, quality, and customer service. Blickman gear is designed by brewers to give you a sense of pride in your equipment. At Blickman, they know what makes brewing a pain and build gear that makes it fun. Like the intuitive beer gun, a completely different approach to filling bottles. The Therminator Wort Chiller, a new take on a plate chiller that's sized for flow, performance, and the high groundwater temps homebrewers face every day. The Brewmometer, a brilliant weldless thermometer design with brewing parameters right on the dial. The Autosparge, ultimate simplicity for preventing an overflow or running your mash tun dry. And much more, like the modular top-tier brewing stand, conical fermenters, and their Boilermaker brew pots. With more cutting-edge equipment coming soon, keep up with the latest from Blickman at blickmanengineering.com and stay on the cutting edge.
Hi, this is Push from the Brewing Network, and I want to tell you about the Brewmaster's Warehouse and how you can get 10% off your next order. I'm a pretty techie guy, but I've never seen an online store like this. It's awesome. Go to brewmasterswarehouse.com and click on Brew Builder. You can whip up a custom recipe so easily even Sven could do it. Seriously, it's slick. You can share your recipe with your own logo and notes to the Brewmasters database if you want. And the best part, it keeps a running tally of the beer you're building while you're doing it. Then, bam, click Buy Recipe, and your cart is filled and ready to go with helpful suggestions in case you forgot something. This thing is amazing. Brewmasters Warehouse is run the way a home brewer would do it, with great service, fast turnaround, and $6.99 flat rate shipping. Brewmasters Warehouse and the Brew Builder blew me away. Check it out today at brewmasterswarehouse.com. I'm serious. And don't forget to put BNARMY in the discount code box for 10% off your order. Check out brewmasterswarehouse.com. Cheers.
A heretic is anyone who does not conform to an established attitude, doctrine, or principle.
If you love craft beer, you're already a heretic.
The very first thing we did when we started looking at the beers that we would brew, we got rid of all those recipes. We started from scratch. We've been pilot brewing the most creative things that we think of and the most interesting things. We've completely gone away from style.
Heretic Brewing Company is opening this spring in Pittsburgh, California, and you can be a part of it. Visit hereticbrewing.com and facebook.com/hereticbrew. Get the latest updates on the brewery and upcoming beers. Show everyone how you celebrate great beer as a heretic.
It's a fairly powerful word. Being a heretic, that means you're not settling for ordinary beer. You are going with flavorful, creative, bold, interesting beers. A heretic is looking for the best beers out there.
Be a heretic. Don't drink ordinary beer. Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
Back to the two guys that know how to turn beer into beer. This is Brew Strong.
I love all the stuff that we have, all the bumper stuff that we have for this show. It's quality.
It is.
Quality stuff. All right. So back to your quality questions. And, before we do, I want to tell you about one thing that seems like that might also be quite interesting in quality. And that is adamandeve.com. If you are so inspired with you and your loved one, whether that be, who are you? Doesn't matter which way you swing. we're totally cool with that.
Right.
Seriously.
We're in the Bay Area.
I got you love somebody and they're an adult and human, go for it.
So there's one boundary.
Right, there is a boundary. Adult and human. Unless the animal can consent, and that's, whatever happens between consenting adults is between consenting adults. So seriously, if you enjoy spicing things up in the bedroom, my fellow gals and fellas, and if you like fantasizing about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy or adult movie, check out adamandeve.com. They got this great offer. You can get 50% off just about any item, and you'll get free shipping. If you use this offer code, you get 3 free adult DVDs. You get an extra gift that they throw in, and it's really a great deal. So go to adamandeve.com. You use the offer code Jamil, Jamil. You're going to get 50% off just about any one item. You get free shipping. You get 3 free DVDs. You get a free extra gift. So you buy one thing at half price, and you get all this other stuff and free shipping. And the idea is, once you bought from adamandeve.com and see the huge array of products that they have available to you, you're going to find it quite the place to shop for your needs. So go check it out, adamandeve.com. And they even have a new mobile site, m.adameve.com.
Perfect.
So, you do shop in there.
For the pervert on the run.
For the pervert on the run, right.
Go to the mobile site.
No, you're not a pervert if you enjoy the love of your other, your person.
Right.
Or persons. I got no problem with that either.
Right.
Seriously. Hey, however you make it work, that's good for me. So go check it out. They've been a good sponsor. Been with us a fair time now. So
great sponsor.
All right, back to your questions.
All right, guys. Chris in Pennsylvania says, "Hey, Brew Strong Generals.
Hey.
When scaling the base malt up to account for efficiency differences, how much is too much before the additional base malt begins to affect the finished beer and really change the recipe?"
Right.
Looking for some kind of guideline in terms of percentage.
That is an excellent question. And I really, didn't think generally it was much of a problem until we started messing around on the commercial level and trying to scale things up. And came across some issues because we were trying to deal with low initial volumes and adjust for the volumes and adjust for changes in efficiency. And we're having a lot of variability, and we were getting, more and less, character malt additions or, more or less impact from the character malts, and had to adjust those as well. Generally, I think, if you're within maybe, 10 percentage points, it's generally okay. 5 is certainly okay. 10 is kind of starting to push it. If it's, 15, 20% difference, then I think you might need to also adjust your specialty malts, because you're tending not to extract some of the... It's tricky because you can extract the color and flavor of some of these specialty malts, and the reason why you're not doing well on efficiency is maybe it's starch conversion or something like that. You've got some weird things going on. But if it's, crush is you're crushing very lightly, then everything tends to be equal. If you're if it's like a pH thing, then it tends to be unequal. If it's, a temperature thing or, a water thing, then it tends to be unequal. And then you need to kind of be careful about, adjusting also the specialty malts.
Okay.
Anything to add to that, John?
No, that sounds reasonable.
All right. It sounded reasonable.
Yeah.
Mark that down.
Reasonable enough.
What day is today?
No, as you say, there's no hard and fast rule. You can start out scaling everything, but as you've demonstrated, you don't want to necessarily, just double your specialty malts if you're going from 5 to 10 gallons. But you do see a greater effect. The more you scale it up, the greater that difference becomes. So I think your guideline there of anywhere, if you're within 5 to 10% of the original amount, then you're probably okay.
Cool.
All right, guys. Question that came up during the last episode. Everett from Minnesota is in the chat room, and he said, "Hey, last episode, the use of pectic enzyme came up for clearing fruit beers." He says, "I may have missed the information, but what's the best time to use pectic enzyme? Boil, post-boil, primary, keg?"
Never in the boil, not hot, because it's going to denature the enzymes.
Okay.
Right.
So best time?
Probably in the keg.
Right, secondary of some kind.
Yeah.
Right.
Or even if it's your third vessel, the keg's even better if it's your third one.
Right, and you could add it to the ferment as well, but
yeah.
Okay. All right, let's see here. Horst wrote in, guys. He's got a question about dry hopping. He says, "Greetings, croutons." He's altering you a little bit there, Palmer. He says, "I brewed a DIPA recently and noticed that after just a few weeks, the hop aroma character dropped off a cliff. What can I do to prolong that hop aroma character? I don't keg, and my bottles are sitting at room temp. Is temperature the issue? Oxidation play a role?" He's got a few kind of questions of his own. So what do you think, guys? Prolonging that hop aroma character.
It's probably oxidation, staling. So
temperature plays a role, oxygen plays a role.
Does all.
Bottling plays a role. Keep it in bulk, keep it cold. I think those will help. I'm not really certain, but I kind of believe that the multi-stage dry hopping actually helps in one aspect. So, you dry hop for 3 or 4 days maybe, or a week, and then you dry hop with the rest of the hops, again 3 or 4 days. So you split it up into 2. That seems to help a little bit. The other thing that I guarantee helps is hop selection. And what you're trying to select for is the higher oil hops. So, Matt Brittleson is, he's been saying for a long time, people shouldn't be looking at alpha acid on hops. They should be selling hops based on oil content. And generally speaking, in a very broad sense, the higher alpha hops also tend to have a little bit more oil, but, there's lower alpha hops that can have a huge amount of oil.
Yeah.
It just depends on how they're grown. So he had given an example of like a Cascade at like 6% alpha that had far more oils in them than, some of the highest others. And so, those oils are a lot of the aroma character.
Yeah.
So
the longer you leave hops on the vine, the more oil they'll have. You delay. Mm-hmm. If you pick them, a couple days or up to a week later than peak, I suppose you'd say, they will gain oil content in that time. But you're also, they're darkening. They don't look as nice.
They're oxidizing as well.
Yeah. So
and and it depends a lot on other growing conditions. That there's only so much you can do to push potential oil by leaving it, but the other conditions of growth, water and nutrients and, the amount of sun, all that are all going to affect the oil as well. So, various hops, if you can find out, the hops that, have the most oil, that's what homebrew shops should be doing now. They should be, because they have access to that information. Mm-hmm. They should be listing that on their packages. I'd love to see a homebrew shop like, Northern Brewer champion this and start listing the oil content of the hops. Because then you could pick the high oil content hops and say, all right, I want something with a lot of hop character, here's the highest oil hops, let me pick those. And I think you can make a fantastic beer that way. It doesn't have to all be the citrusy, Simcoe, those types of hops.
Be careful, you're going to get kicked out of the West Coast.
I know you can use stanky hops, and they can make a good, a great, hop character that's really enjoyable. So, look at the oil content. I think that's a big factor right there.
All right. Here's a good question. I like this question because it's something that I want to know the answer to as well. Jerry from Chicago writes in a recent mash, I used 4 different thermometers to check my mash, and they were all 5 degrees apart. My target mash was 148. The one on the side of the kettle read 140. A handhead dial read 145. Uh-huh. A floating one read 150. and a digital probe read 155. I figured that I'd just take the average since it was what I really wanted. But which one should I trust the most, and what do you use? And how do you calibrate your thermometer?
I love this question.
Me too.
I love this question because I noticed the same thing. It's like, this one's doing that, this one's doing the other thing. I was using a More Beer sculpture, and it had a recirculating mash and would maintain mash temperature, but that was based off the digital control, right? And the dial thermometer is reading something else.
Yeah.
And at first I freaked out about it, but then I quickly figured out that doesn't matter. Who cares what the temperature is? As long as what you need to know is what you're doing consistent. So pick whichever thermometer is the one that's easiest to use and seems most, consistent. It's not wildly swinging or something like that. You want to, I'm talking about Adam and Eve, wildly swing. If you, so the point being, it doesn't matter if that thermometer reads A to Z and you're picking P or O, or it reads 0 to 212 and you're picking 150 something, right? What matters is that you can reproduce what you're doing that day. So the next time you brew the beer and you choose, M
thermometer
as your thermometer B, and you're using 155.
And sticking the thermometer in the same place.
Right. Always stick it in the same place. You want to note what you're doing, and you want to be able to reproduce that behavior. Now, when the beer's done, you want to go back and say, all right, is, the beer I wanted to brew? If it's not, is that something related to mash temperature? If the answer is yes to that, then say, okay, now on thermometer B, I want to go higher or lower. It doesn't really matter what the actual mash temperature is. All you really need to know is what you're doing in your environment. That's all that really matters. You really don't care what somebody's doing at Sierra Nevada. You really don't care what they're doing at Firestone Walker. They're excellent breweries, but their mash temperature has no relationship to your mash temperature.
Yeah.
And all you need is a thermometer that's consistent, and that you can, go back and say, all right, last time I brewed this, I think the mash temperature was a little too low. So it's reading, 175, but it seemed too low. I want 180, which is would seem ridiculously high. It doesn't matter, because obviously it's, everything's working out fine. It seemed too low.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what, again, the actual numbers don't matter. It's that you have the ability to repeat and adjust from what you did before, up or down.
Okay.
Or, keep it the same because that was ideal. That's all you need to know. Now, as far as calibrating thermometers, John, you want to take that part?
Yeah, well, for calibrated thermometers, go to a place that'll send you a calibration certificate, whether that's More Beer, Northern Brewer, or McMaster Carr.
Or how to calibrate them yourself.
Yeah, well, then you can do that too. Boil some water. You're right up there. You can
at sea level,
calculate
212 Fahrenheit or 100 C.
Right, and you can calculate change in boiling temperature with pressure and elevation. And you're going to get within 2 degrees. And that's close enough. As Jamil says, I mean, as long as you're doing it consistently, and it's reading 156 this time, and you want to try a little higher, 158 next time. Same thermometer, same location in the mash, same degree of stirring of the mash, so that you're minimizing the amount of variables when you're taking that reading. Then you'll be able to adjust. But yeah, boiling water, ice water, body temperature. All these reference points will help you dial in reasonable calibration on that thermometer.
So body temperature, are you suggesting
yeah.
that they measure like core temperature?
Yeah, just stick it in your mouth.
Oh, I like
his
a hold. Yeah. Hey, I can't see the thermometer dial. Justin, can you read this one for me? I don't know. Bend over a little further. I can't quite see it.
Oh man! Now I pictured it. God damn it, Jay-Z. I was doing fine there for a minute. Then I pictured it.
That's foul. Yeah.
All right. Got another one for you, Palmer. Wes from Indiana writes in. Question about water chemistry.
Huh?
He says, since listening to the water shows a few times, I'm now making regular water adjustments. I brewed my first dark beer since doing water adjustments and used purely baking soda to adjust my RA to about 200 instead of using chalk.
Okay.
Palmer, what's RA? Help me out here.
Residual alkalinity.
Okay. He says
residual alkalinity is a calculation of how much alkalinity is left over.
It's residual.
Yes.
Got it.
From the phosphate and calcium reaction that goes on in the mash.
Okay.
It would naturally lower the pH from somewhere the water somewhere between 6 and 8 down to the 5.2, 5.4 that you're looking for in an ideal mash.
All right. So he says he used baking soda to do it instead of chalk. Why? He says, I'm not really sure. What should I be using? And what's the advantage or disadvantage of adding hardness with chalk?
Okay. What you're doing when you're adding alkalinity to a dark beer, if you have a naturally low mineral, soft, low alkalinity water, your dark malts have natural acidity to them, and if you add if you're making a very dark stout with a lot of roasted malts or a lot of caramel 120, which also has a high acidity potential, you can drive your mash pH down below 5. And that's where you start impacting your conversion enzymes, your beta amylase. So when you're brewing dark beer, by adding alkalinity to the water, if it's low in alkalinity, you can help bring that back up into the 5.2, 5.4 range. And that's why you would be adding alkalinity. So sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, is very effective at that because you're only adding alkalinity. The sodium does not have any effect on the pH. What it does have an effect on, though, is flavor. And you get too much sodium. If you get over 100 ppm of sodium, then you start to notice off flavors. Something just doesn't taste quite right. You get a harsh bitterness out of the water. So we don't recommend going over 100 ppm on sodium. Calcium carbonate or chalk is a natural one to add, but the problem is that chalk is fairly stable. It doesn't like to go into solution. You need at a minimum to add it to your mash tun, where at least the pH is lower to help it go into solution. But unfortunately, as opposed to many other minerals, the solubility of chalk actually decreases with increasing temperature. So chalk is hard to get into solution, and when you do get into the solution, you've got the calcium side, which is actually raising the hardness and lowering the mash pH at the same time the alkalinity is raising it. So there's 2 steps forward, 1 step back in terms of raising alkalinity.
Like my life.
Yeah. So his question is, why is he using sodium bicarbonate? Well, because it goes into solution better than chalk.
So he's doing the right thing.
He's doing the right thing up to a point. I mean, if he's adding 2 teaspoons or 10 grams of baking soda to his mash, he's probably throwing the sodium up there around 200 ppm, and which could negatively impact the flavor of his beer. He'll get the alkalinity and get the pH smoothness he's looking for, but there's going to be some strange off flavors. What he may want to do is cut that sodium bicarbonate addition in half, and use some chalk, use some calcium carbonate as part of that addition. It's not as effective as the sodium bicarbonate, but you'll get less off flavor from it.
All right. How about one from our friend Kim Wood in the chat room?
Gimme!
Yeah. Kim's got a question about repitching yeast, and in fact, I've got a couple of those in front of me. But she says, okay, repitching yeast. After rinsing it with cooled down boiled water,
yes,
crashing it, pouring off the liquid,
yes,
how do I know where to adjust the sliders on the Mr. Malty pitching rate calculator for yeast concentration and non-yeast percentage?
Generally, all right, so if you really want to know, you need to do a cell count. You need to look through a microscope and figure that out if you really want to. But what she just described, that is pretty much the settings that you have right there.
So that was her follow. So the default is okay.
Yeah,
default settings.
I would just go with the default on that.
Okay, and then
that might be a little too much that you're pitching, but over pitching is pretty forgiving. It's not a big deal. It's pretty hard to overpitch.
Okay.
So I think you're right in there.
Should be fine. Okay.
Yeah.
And then her follow-up question is for me, why am I such a slave driver that I'm making Jay-Z work a couple of shows after his long, grueling day bottling beer at Heretic?
See how sweet Kim is.
Well, the answer to that is I could give a shit about Jay-Z's personal life as long as the BN succeeds.
Yes.
That's the answer to that. So.
He uses a whip.
That's right.
And if I don't do what he says, he won't whip me. And they're like, please whip me, please whip me.
You want to do one more repitching question before we break?
Sure.
Hey, Jay-Z and Palmer. I listened to the 2011 NHC Brew Strong show that you did with Greg Doss from White Yeast.
Yeah, I thought that was excellent. Excellent show.
Yeah, we should get him
Greg
back on.
was fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That guy, I love. Every time I talk to him, I start thinking.
Yeah, which is good for you. He says, I was especially interested in the discussion about repitching the Rosalaire blend. Mm-hmm. Based on this conversation and your own experiences, what's your current thinking on repitching slurry from a beer brewed with the Rosalaire blend into a fresh batch? Mm-hmm. In his experience, he says, I just brewed a Flanders Red 7 months ago using a Y Yeast Rosalaire blend smack pack, no other yeast added, that I hope to keg soon. So I'm wondering if a repitch of the slurry from this beer into a new batch could produce as good or better results versus a new smack pack. From Rob.
Well, all right, 7 months in, that's kind of a different story. That might be a little too long. However, I have taken, the contents of like a Duchess bottle and added starter wort to that, and then that tastes, like Duchess. So I think that's all, all quite possible. So 7 months might be fine. I think, you're on the Rosalaire blend, I'm not sure the condition or, quantity of the base strain that's in there, or the sherry fleur or anything like that. The bacteria, I think, in the Brett are probably okay at that point. They're the 3 strains of Brett or whatever they use. So I would, my theory right now is, maybe a month into it, or 3 weeks or whenever it seems like there's a cake of yeast in the and all that, I would harvest that and I would repitch that, and I think you'd be good. As it stands now, I think you could go ahead and just keep inoculating other beers with. You could take take the dregs off the bottom and toss that into another beer, and I bet you it turns out great. It might start to change the balance a little bit. And I think you get more the similar balance as you do in the Rosalaire if you did it in like 3 weeks. But that's just theory.
Okay.
But I stand by it. I think it's we're all too freaked out about the amount of and I think it's my theory is it's self-adjusting. That pH tends to limit certain things, and sugars tend to limit certain things, and the growth rates, and they all just kind of fall into place. And if you give them the new opportunity, certain things race ahead and do really well, and they do their part, and then they run out of sugars, or the pH changes enough to where they start to go, okay, well, time to finish. And it doesn't really matter what order those come in, or they'll go ahead and do it if they're in enough quantity to kind of do their role.
Okay.
And enough health. So I say repitch your bugs, repitch your funky beers. I bet you it works just fine.
All right. Great.
All right. Well, let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll finish up with more of your questions after this.
What does craft beer mean to you? Is it a delicious way to support your town's local brewer? Or perhaps it's the perfect beverage to pair with those delicious devils on horseback? Regardless of whether you're thinking of pints or pairings, pilsners or porters, craftbeer.com is the site where craft beer lovers come together to learn and share. Craftbeer.com is brought to you by the Brewers Association and celebrates the best of American craft beer and its brewers. Craftbeer.com is the best place to find craft beer events, recipes, great feature stories, the most up-to-date brewery listings, and resources for your next beer tasting or dinner, like style guidelines, pairing mats, and charts. Get the inside scoop on new beer releases and special events from today's craft beer insiders, and chime in to share your own knowledge, perfect pairings, road trips, recipes, and more. Craftbeer.com, celebrating the best of American beer.
BN Army, HopTech has a great discount waiting for you. Do you often find it difficult to find specific specialty ingredients for your home brew recipes? Well, listen to this. HopTech stocks 59 different grains to choose from, 39 varieties of pellet hops, and 8 kinds of whole leaf hops. And HopTech not only carries Y yeast and White Labs yeast for you, but also Fermentus, 04, 5, 6, 23, 33, and T58 Belgian yeast, plus Cooper's, Nottingham, and Windsor yeasts. Got your recipe ready to go? Pick up some great brew gear like new long and short sleeved shirts, games, and more. HopTech's new website is being updated every day with new items. If you don't see it, call the shop. They're open 6 days a week. BN Army and AHA members get a 10% discount, and active military personnel get 15% off. Visit HopTech.com today for great selection, great service, and a great discount. HopTech.com.
Nico, listen, our lawyers said that we had to do this for 1 hour, and after this, we don't have to talk to each other for 3 more months to the next meeting.
Kids, come on, let's get out of here.
I'm supposed to have more lines. I'm the professional. Hey, it's Sully.
And I'm Nico.
And we opened the 21st Amendment 9 years ago at 563 2nd Street in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park, to make great beer and have a great time doing it.
That's right, because to us, the 21st Amendment is more than just the right to make beer. It's the right to experiment, to be innovative, and just do things differently. And so now, we're putting our craft beer in cans.
That's right, cans. You can find our world-famous Hell or High Watermelon Wheat Beer and Brew Free or Die IPA throughout California and Alaska.
And now it's also available on draft at select accounts in the Bay Area.
So next time you're at your local neighborhood pub or good beer store, be sure to ask for 21st Amendment in cans.
Because everyone likes it in a can.
Tasty crack cans.
Tasty crack can.
Williams Brewing is your online resource for prompt delivery of quality home brewing supplies. Since 1979, Williams Brewing has offered the finest equipment and freshest ingredients and the best customer service in the business. Cut hours off your brewing sessions by using one of our 11 varieties of famous Williams malt extract. Our Williams Belgian Pale Extract is mashed with pure Belgian 2-row malt and a small percentage of Belgian wheat malt for an authentic Belgian character you just can't get from other extracts. Or check out our unique fermenters, 2.5-gallon kegs, paintball tank-based draft beer equipment, bottling aids, and much more. We even have our own line of precision hydrometers. Go to WilliamsBrewing.com to browse our vast selection. That's WilliamsBrewing.com. Orders placed by 3:30 p.m. Pacific Time ship the same day. Brewing is easy. The Williams way.
Hi, this is John from Grain and Grape in Melbourne, Australia. This has been a big year for us. We've just celebrated our 21st birthday and we've been voted best home brew shop in Australia. We reckon that makes us pretty much the best brew shop in the Southern Hemisphere. Now we've got the ultimate fix for all you space poor, time poor and lapsed brewers. The all-in-one Brewmeister is now at Grain and Grape and it's a beauty. There are 20, 50 and 200 litre systems. It lets you complete a temperature-controlled mash, boil and cool, all within the same stainless steel mains-powered unit. So if you live in an apartment, you don't have the time to complete a traditional brew day, or are just plain lazy, you can be brewing beautiful all-grain beer more quickly than ever. We're also now making our own range of small-batch fresh wort kits on the 200 litre system right here in the warehouse. Just one last thing. Mention the Brewing Network next time you're ordering online or over the phone to receive freight free on your next order of up to 15 kilos. Check out grainandgrape.com.au for conditions.
Back to your hosts, Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. Putting the testicles in technical. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. We're answering your questions live on the Brew Network.
And we do have a lot of people in the chat room asking questions today, too. So let me try to get through some of those for these guys. Let's see. Can you steep Carapils dextrin malt, or does it need to be mashed?
Steep.
It has to be steeped.
No, it doesn't have to be. It can be mashed, but steeping is fine.
You can steep. It's fine. It won't cause a starch haze if not mashed?
No, it's fully converted.
Yeah, well, and that's where I'm kind of hesitant. Is it fully converted? It should be. Mm-hmm. But it's all supposedly fully converted, and there wouldn't be any issue.
Okay,
but you can get all the effect out of it by steeping.
All right. Ellis, Texas is in the chat. He says, I've got a few pounds of caramel wheat, and I can't find any recipes that include it. You know any good uses for caramel wheat?
What color caramel? I would use it in place of any caramel malt.
Okay.
Of the same color.
So give me an example of a caramel malt. That's a
Crystal 60
Crystal
caramel.
60.
Yeah.
Okay.
40, 80, 120.
What's the advantage of using a wheat instead of one of those? A wheat Cara?
It's huskless, so that might have some effect on flavor and tannins and things like that.
All right. Okay.
Other than that, it's probably pretty equivalent. And it really depends on the maltster. You can take essentially, one of the things that has become really important to me is choosing the specific grain, because like chocolate malt, it ranges anywhere from like 275 love to 600. Depending on the manufacturer, and they're all wildly different in flavor and color, and you can say chocolate malt, but what they're considering chocolate malt, you really need to know what you're choosing from those different manufacturers, those different maltsters, and they're all good. It's just they're all different.
Yeah.
So you need to kind of they're all chocolate malt, but they're not the same.
See, and that's where I get confused sometimes,
it's
too.
Even a chocolate wheat.
With the different... Well, right. And with it, sometimes the names are very similar, too. Right. So I do get a little confused with that also, and I worry about it. So I think it's really a good note that you make. Yeah. Make sure you know exactly what it is you're using.
Right. Look at the color, look at, or find out. When something gets dark enough, it's hard to tell the difference between like 300 love and 400 love.
Yeah.
It's got a flavor difference, but you look at them and it's like, they're all like black.
Okay.
And it's like
taste them. That'll be your best indicator.
Right.
All right.
And, you just need to, try these different malts. If you get to, somebody like Northern Brewer, they have a wide range of malts. And you go ahead and try all the various, you can order a pound of each. And make yourself a few beers, and just where it's featuring a different malt, character malts, and just see which one, how different the flavors are, and you'd be surprised.
Okay. Question about a Flanders Red here. Dark Alex is in the chat room, and he says, I've got a Flanders Red and a Belgian specialty in secondary since January of 2011. They both have a thick pellicle, and I think it's ready for a taste. How do I do this without exposing the beer? Do I kind of rack beneath the pellicle if it's been over a year?
Yeah, you poke through.
Just poke through. Okay.
Yeah, if you're using like a thief or racking or a piece of tubing or something like that, you just poke through. Don't stir it around and be a maniac about it. But January to now, I would check it every couple of months. I wouldn't wait quite that long.
All right.
Because they're changing. Although, it probably freaks people out tasting them, and then it's like, oh my god, it doesn't taste right. You wait like 3 more months, and it's like, it's great.
Right. Okay. So nothing wrong with a little poke.
No, there's nothing wrong with a little poke.
Okay.
I enjoy poking it as often as I can.
All right. Palmer, you agree?
I do agree.
Good. All right. Tim wrote in. Now, I like this question because I definitely like that we make sure we cover beginning and advanced brewers on all of our shows. And Tim kind of writes in, hey, howdy, hey, I got a question concerning water from a garden hose. I brew all grain, and I've always used water from the hose to brew with. Mm-hmm. I stopped using bottled water when I stopped brewing extract. Recently, I saw a YouTube video stating that you shouldn't use water from the garden hose unless you filter it first. I seem to remember, though, that you want all those minerals and stuff that comes with this water. So I figure the bad stuff will die in the boil. My beers always tasted all right, but can you please shed some light on the subject? Can't wait to read the water book, Palmer. So,
me either.
Now, can I just to throw this out there, just to kind of clarify, It seems to me that when he says water from a garden hose, he really just means the faucet, right? Not necessarily running it through a garden hose,
right? Which
we should just talk about the two different things.
Well, and the other thing is, he's talking about, and there's the whole garden hose thing, and there's the tap. All right, so, he also says filtering, and I don't want to remove all those minerals, but filtering doesn't remove all those minerals. I mean, a process like reverse osmosis will remove minerals. Yeah. But filtering, like through a carbon filter, you're really removing, organics, and chlorine and chloramines and things like that.
Right. All right.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because those can cause off flavors in your beer, especially the chlorines.
Yeah.
The organics tend to boil off, unless it's really bad, then those can leave a residual. But otherwise tap water in general is generally pretty good, unless your tap water is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole garden hose thing was these plastic garden hoses, you
laying in the sun,
with the water sitting in it and extracting a lot of these
plasticizers.
Long time since these volatile compounds that leach into the water. You taste from a garden hose has been sitting in the sun. You taste it, and you taste that plastic, right?
Yeah.
So that's why people are against garden hoses. But you can get yourself a like an RV hose, and those tend to be much more taste friendly.
The white one.
The white one, yeah. You can get them at Walmart and Orchard or, Home Depot or whatever. Anyway, your mass stores, they tend to have them.
Yeah.
And those work fine. But other than that, I wouldn't think... it's the chlorine. The thing for me is the filtering out the chlorine. But what would you say, Palmer, as far as, using water from the tap?
I think that's the main thing. I mean... if, as he says, if he's using the water to go for the boil, and so that everything he takes from the hose is going through the boil, then there's probably not a big deal. But if he's doing any kind of makeup water or chilling with that water, and there's a chance of splashing, water that could be contaminated from the hose into the beer, post boil, then
because there can be bacteria in your tap water too.
Yeah, and especially in the garden hose laying around. I mean, there's going to be all kinds of aerobic bacteria and other pediococcus that can spoil a beer. I mean, I use. I'm sure you do. I mean, you use hose all the time.
I use hose all the time. Did you say?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
not all the time. I use hose just in an emergency.
Well, I use the white RV hoses that have less plasticizers in them. They're more potable, water friendly. And I run it right from the tap on the side of the house through my carbon filter into my brew stand. So
that's the same way I do it.
Yeah. So nothing wrong with it as long as you look out for nasty smelling organics that could manifest in the beer.
But a good carbon filter will take care of a lot of that.
Yeah.
If you got water that stinks, you run it through a good carbon filter, and it tends to smell pretty sweet after that.
All right. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the carbon filter because it's a piece of cake, and it doesn't change the profile necessarily of your local water.
Yeah, all the minerals are still there, and
okay. If you think about styles of beer that we know and love over the over the years, people are using their local water. It's part of the beer.
Yep,
use it. Just don't run it through a green hose. Stupid idea. Okay, how about this one for you, Mr. Palmer? Justin from Eugene, Oregon writes in, thanks for all your contributions to the brewing culture, first of all. He says, I recently bought a plastic 6.5 gallon conical from a local homebrew shop. It had a preformed 3/4 inch female threaded port at the bottom. Bought a brass ball valve hose for the out port, and installed it today while I was brewing a mild. I put the wort and the yeast into it. And then I read your section in How to Brew on brass, where you state that brass should be cleaned with vinegar and peroxide. Of course, having read this after I already assembled and filled the conical, I was wondering what impact it'll have on the finished beer, and if I should do the cleaning you recommend before beer number 2, or if it's already scrubbed of the surface lead by the beer.
Not a big deal. The cleaning of brass, I mean, I assume it was clean to start with. So, had a nice shiny metal appearance. The reason I came up with the peroxide vinegar blend is to remove surface lead. And it's a very small amount of surface lead. You're not going to get it all coming off in one batch. It's going to, a little bit over time. And it's really an insignificant amount. I mean, you've got one fitting there, for the 5 gallons. It's just in your body, as it says in How to Brew, your body will pass 90% of the lead that you ingest, and the amount that you're actually ingesting from that one fitting is insignificant.
Yeah, don't feed the beer to infants or anything like that.
Yeah, but still,
save the brandy for that.
Yeah. Don't serve it to your white mice. Yeah, that's you would need to drink the entire 5 gallon batch. In fact,
most people
give it to a small child, and you kill them with the alcohol first.
Right.
Anyway, but there's no need. I mean, if it looks dirty, if it looks black, then clean it before the second beer. But it should look a little duller in appearance. I wouldn't expect to see any large change in color of the brass that would make you feel like you had to clean it. Just keep using it.
And that said, I always did your pickling method on all my brass fittings, and I felt better for it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I
did a lead test.
Yeah,
and there was still some
and that's why I put it out there is because there's that extra insurance, but it's really a non-issue.
See, Palmer puts it out there, but doesn't actually follow it himself, and look how he turned out.
That's right.
He's fine.
His brain function is still almost normal.
Yeah.
Very close to normal.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I do have more chat questions and more email questions, but we are running short on time.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll just take the cherry pick the rest. If you didn't get your question answered and you're in the chat, just send it to brewstrong@thebrewingnetwork.com, and we'll eventually get to all of them. Back after this.
When Blickman Engineering set out to design a great brewing stand, they knew it had to be strong, adaptable, and last for a lifetime. The top-tier brewing stand is now proudly available at BlickmanEngineering.com. It grows with your brewing skills and equipment. Start with 5-gallon coolers on its heavy-gauge stainless steel shelves. Then move all the way up to 30-gallon pots on the high-output burner tiers. Speaking of burners, the custom Blickman Engineering top-tier burners are extremely powerful, efficient, and amazingly quiet. They have safety stops to center your pot, and they'll last a lifetime and won't rust. The top-tier brewing stand allows virtually infinite combinations from traditional gravity systems to 2 tiers to completely horizontal. Configure your stand the way you want and have the freedom to change it at any time in the future. Your brewing stand should adapt with you, not force you to learn a new process. Visit BlickmanEngineering.com today to configure your top-tier brewing stand and to find a local Blickman retailer. You'll be surprised with all the flexible features and the competitive price. Start brewing with Blickman from the top tier.
In a world where everything has been lost.
What happened to the city? It's in ruins.
Only one man has the ancient knowledge to restore civilization.
I need a drink. Oh no, the liquor store's been ransacked.
You looking for beer, stranger? Boy, all the liquor got drunk up in the first 25 minutes of the apocalypse.
Wait, there's still some bottles over... Oh, no. Those are non-alcoholic beer.
I reckon you better stick to arrowroot tea and a desperate nomadic existence like the rest of us.
People, I'm a home brewer. I know how to make alcohol. It can't be done. Come with me if you want the beer. Okay, I'm gonna need some big plastic buckets.
He is the chosen one. The prophecies say that he's gonna get us wasted.
Someone start heating water.
From the creators of Northern Brewer, the people who brought you $7.99 Brew Saver shipping, massive selection, and superior customer service comes the home brewer.
Hi, I'm Jamel Zainasheff, and in addition to my work on the Brewing Network, I write the Style Profile column in every issue of Brew Your Own magazine.
Hi, I'm Sean Paxton, and when I'm not prepping for the Home Brewed Chef on the Brewing Network, you can find me writing articles on how to cook with your home brew for Brew Your Own magazine.
Greetings, cretins. This is John Palmer, and when I'm not writing for Brew Your Own, I'm reading it.
John Palmer, Sean Paxton, Jamil Zainasheff. If you love listening to them on the Brewing Network, you'll love reading their articles, tips, and recipes in the pages of Brew Your Own magazine. Join Jamil, John, and Sean 8 times a year in Brew Your Own. And when you subscribe to BYO on the Brewing Network website, half of your subscription price goes right back to the BN to support great beer and food programming. So sign up for Brew Your Own magazine through the BN website today so you can listen and read your way to better homebrew.
Hey, what are you doing, man?
Writing a review of WLP 400.
What? You're reviewing yeast?
Yeah. White Labs has home brewer reviews of all their strains. Are you new to these interwebs? Check it out.
That's awesome.
White Labs, your source for great yeast, invites all brewers to visit whitelabs.com to read and write your own reviews of all their yeast strains. Get real-world tips and tricks from other brewers who have made the most of their vials and post your own experiences. It's another way White Labs brings you closer to the best yeast on the planet.
And send. There you go.
You misspelled flocculate, dude.
What? Mother...
White Labs. It's all in the vial.
Back to the beer guys that make other beer guys look like wine guys. Brew strong.
All right, we're back. We're just going to wrap up the live Q&A. Again, if you're listening live, you can go on to thebrewingnetwork.com, click on that Chat Now button, and you can have your input into the show.
That's right. A couple questions left here in the chat room. Let's see. Someone in the chat, Killian, has the question about this. He's got two questions about bugs. One quick one is, when pitching bugs, Brett, PDO, lacto in a beer, is there a need to make a starter? And how about if that beer is 100% Brett beer? Starter for bugs? We've done this before.
You absolutely can, and that's going to affect things like any organism. The more you introduce into the culture, the faster and more extensive the results, and the more healthy they are. So with Brett, if you want to do a starter with Brett, lots of oxygen is key if you want to grow Brett.
Okay.
And every organism has its own needs, and if you provide that, it'll grow real fast.
All right. And his kind of follow-up question, he says that somebody in the chat room was saying that home spontaneous fermentation can be a carcinogen. So now we're starting rumors in our own chat room. What do you guys think of that?
I don't see how. I mean, home spontaneous fermentation, wild yeasts or bacteria from...
Right, that's all you're going to get in there. I mean, you could get molds and spores.
Okay. Well, so could you at non-home fermentation, couldn't you, at a brewery?
Right, exactly. Right. I really wouldn't worry about that at all. I mean, there's so many carcinogens, known carcinogens. I mean, we live in California, and there's a Prop 65 on everything. And so everything is known to cause cancer in, like, lab rats. So I would not worry about it at all. I would set out wort and, or beer and, leave it open in your backyard and let it get funky and nasty as you want, and it's still drinkable. It's not going to hurt you.
Yeah. Even in my backyard here in Pacheco with the refinery?
Yeah, it may taste like shit, but
it won't kill you.
It won't kill you.
The refinery will kill me first.
Yeah, yeah. That refinery, I bet you get more carcinogens from that. Oh, maybe not. I don't know. They probably have limits on what they can pump out in the air. And I certainly wouldn't worry about that. You're going to get killed by something else way before you get like cancer from spontaneous fermentation in your backyard.
Right. Okay. All right. Here's one from Hot Rod, he says he's got an ice distilling question. He's got I guess Ice Bock. I said I've got an old ale. The AVB right now is 11.5. The IBUs are around 45. And he says it's great now. Mm-hmm. But I want the AVB to bump up to about 18-ish. Do you have any tips or thoughts, or should I just leave a great beer alone and not?
I'd leave a great beer alone.
Okay.
Because, it's also like, Doppelbock versus Eisbock. Yeah. If you have an awesome Doppelbock, it's not going to make an awesome Eisbock. It's not going to make that Doppelbock better. It's going to make it worse. It's not going to be a great Eisbock. You need a different base beer to get there. And so I would not do it. But if you take a small portion and try it, and I don't think it's technically distilling. I think it's concentrating. Distilling's illegal.
Yeah. Well, and it's not really distilling, is it?
No, it's just freeze concentrating. They have a whole different set of rules for that, but distilling's is quite illegal in the United States.
Okay.
Because you have a license to do it.
And then a follow-up question from another chat room user who was kind of watching Killian talk about that said, would doing this Eisbock process affect proteins in a beer, which would affect things like head formation and things like that?
I have heard in the past that if you freeze a beer and then thaw it, it actually, you can end up with a permanent haze, and you can end up, messing up a beer. And I don't know if that's how true that is, but
I mean, once you get up, when you're doing that, you're getting those high alcohols and things that in my experience, tend to screw with the head and stuff anyway. So to me, it's hard to tell which is which.
Yeah, but I'm not sure the high alcohol actually screws with the head, or it's the process of producing the high alcohols that tend to leak different compounds that actually affect the head. It's not the alcohol itself.
I see.
So it's high alcohol fermentation. Because if you take straight alcohol and add it to a beer, it doesn't affect the head.
Okay.
So, but I think having made a number of like icebox, I think when you do freeze concentrate, I think there's a lot of material that gets trapped in that ice. So you would think that, all right, you freeze the beer and it's the water that's freezing, and then you transfer the beer out, and the beer's more concentrated, and the flavors are more concentrated. That's why you can't just ice anything. The flavors become more intense, and sometimes, perfectly balanced beer becomes just bad.
Yeah.
But the residual ice that's in there, it has a lot of other flavor compounds and stuff in it. It's not just water.
Otherwise, it would be clear, and it never is.
It never is. It's got weird color to it, and it's bitter, and it's got a whole host of things going on. So, I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, it's definitely going to alter the beer. So if he loves his 11.5%
if
beer
it's perfect,
right now,
then brew another one that, probably a little bit lower in the specialty malts and those other flavors and bittering, and then, concentrate that, and that would probably be well balanced.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, that's about all the time we have. You can send your email questions to brewstrong@thebrewingnetwork.com, and we do our best to get through them. There's going to be some more Q&A shows coming up next month. And then, as always, like you've done tonight, many of you can hit the Chat Now button on the homepage, and I'll try to get your questions as best I can over to Jamil and Palmer.
Another fine show, Mr. Cretin.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
I did, too. I always love these shows. That's why I can't give them up.
Either.
Busy as I might be, this is always fun for me. So... and I learn things. I learn things every time we do these shows.
That's true.
Makes me think, makes me feel good. So I want to keep doing them. If you enjoy these shows too, then check out our sponsors. Check out BlickmanEngineering.com. Check out, send them an email. Tell them how much you appreciate it. If you enjoy the show, check out the store, the Brewing Network. BrewingNetwork.com/store. There's lots of goodies in there, reasonably priced, and when you buy stuff, all the profit goes to the Brewing Network and helps support these shows. So it's, I think, a good use of your limited quatlus. And check out our other sponsors. Check out BYO. There's a good link for there. You sign up for BYO. Half that subscription price goes to the Brewing Network. That's generous.
AHA too. You can sign up for them.
Sign up for the AHA. Become a member. Help support homebrewing. Help protect your rights as a homebrewer. And gain representation, and also, again, a good chunk of the membership goes to the Brewing Network. So, check out all that stuff. Support our sponsors. Keep brewing, and brew strong.
Brew strong, everybody.